Hi, I'm Nid. I'm a wellnesspreneur, having worked online for several years, and I also have a background as a business consultant and lawyer. I am doing a couple of videos to help some of you with getting online, and this one is a chat with a yoga teacher friend of mine who was asking some questions about whether or not it's the time for her to get online and some of the things to consider in whether now is the time and maybe how to approach whether or not you want to get online with your teaching and wellness. Let me know any questions, loving it all, keep it coming so we can keep doing these videos to help you guys. Take care.
Thank you, Adele. Okay, so in our crazy world, currently everyone, it seems, is jumping online to provide wellness to help all poor people, including ourselves, who are stuck at home. And you, like many people, are contemplating how you're going to transform your current way of working to online.
Correct.
And
Yes.
your current setup is you're not really teaching much in studios anymore, are you?
No, not at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you have been doing your own projects and your own business development in your time before the crisis began.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess the question is for you is, are you now thinking of turning some of what you've already done online at this point?
Yeah, I am. So I'm planning to get my healing work online, so remote healing. And I'm also thinking of going back to teaching yoga and meditations online. So even though I've had a break from that, I've been feeling the need to go online at some point, but hadn't actually really been sure when. And now just the momentum of everyone doing it seems to be helping me to get the idea of how to do it. And also the idea that everyone's at home anyway, they have the time, they have the energy, and the idea that I can reach the people who couldn't come to class before because of the timing, or they're in a different state or wherever. Now there's the opportunity where they're at home anyway, and if you're online, it doesn't matter where you are, you can still come. So it seems like now is good timing. While this is happening, I could get into that space, see how it goes, and then once things return to normal, I can then reassess whether continuing in that space is a good idea, whether it's working for me and whether it's working for other people. So it feels like a good testing ground.
Okay, so you feel like it's a testing ground for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that comes to the first question that I kind of have, which I'm noticing some people are feeling very overwhelmed by this, and that you know, there's not just sorting out their own lives, but just that there's a plethora of options and things that you could do. And one of the questions, maybe less applicable for you because you were already thinking about going online, is whether or not your desire to get online is also that fear of missing out on the opportunity that there is currently of loads of people sitting at home, versus you could launch in 4 months' time, say, and maybe people might be back at the office. And are you worried that you're going to be missing out on that captive audience?
Well, yes, that is definitely in my mind as a reason to start now, because I've got more time as well to put into it, and other people have got more time to try it out and see if it works for them. And then if I can establish a group, like a core group of students who come to my online classes, then once things settle back into normal life and routine, if they've then re-established a new habit in their life, that we could then continue to do online classes, and they can watch them later if they can't come live, for example, but they would have started that process. So I feel like it's a good time to capture people who are at a bit of a transition point where they're not, they might have been doing yoga or they might not, but they might be ready to step up and do something new. And the same with meditation. So it feels like I've just started a meditation group on WhatsApp, and it's like 50 people signed up. I was like, really? And I think it's because people are ready. They're ready for something like this. So there's part of me thinking, okay, there's people out there who are ready for it. I've got the skills, I've got the practice, and now might be the time to actually step up myself to then share what I can do to help people.
And I think that to me is like you're answering something from that stage of having felt a calling before and feeling like you're ready to step up. Whereas, you know, there may be a little bit of fear in there, which there always is a bit of fear, right? You know, that helps us get into action. But you're not overwhelmed by the fear to the point where, you know, you're kind of almost frantically jumping into it. Right. You know, there's an aspect of trying to seize an opportunity, but also not worrying because you always felt like you would go in this direction anyway. So I guess having addressed that fear of missing out part, which might not work for some people. Some people might just be in full FOMO and they really should probably assess whether or not they're just trying to desperately not lose income. Which is a key part of this, right? You are already in a situation where you're not desperately going to see a drop in your income as a result of what's happening currently in the world. So you don't have that fear of missing out of money. In the same way. Which is a huge relief for you. And you know, that takes a lot of that FOMO out. But for some people, perhaps they're really looking at the fact that there's a huge drop in income and they might not be able to pay their rent or their mortgage. And, you know, is it a good time to just jump into creating a new business because you're desperately worried about money and what are you creating? Right. So I guess for you, it's slightly different from some people in that alternative scenario. And for you, you've also taken some time to really ground into your mission of what you're trying to accomplish in the future with your ventures, correct?
Correct. But I guess also for other people, even though they may not be in the online space at the moment, and there might be a bit of fear around it, and there might be a bit of need around it to generate some more income, it might also be a good opportunity for them if they can put that fear aside or use it to their advantage to make that jump while all these other people are doing it. Because I've been learning from my yoga teachers. I've had several classes already on different platforms and like Zoom and Skype, and I can see what works and what doesn't, and I'm talking to those people about what they're doing. So by me jumping in and participating in other people's learning, I'm getting that as a sort of by osmosis. And I think now is a really good time to get by osmosis something that might benefit us collectively or individually in the long term, even if we jump in and it's actually not quite right for us, and then we step out and go back to the studios and the gyms and wherever to teach when things settle. It then means we've got more ability to go back into online space down the track in the future if we want to, even if we've just tested the waters a little bit. So there's also that part of me that's thinking it's a good time to test the waters and see if it works. If it doesn't,
which might work. I mean, I think that there are some teachers out there who are exhausted, who may have been teaching, you know, over 20 hours a week, and maybe right now they don't want to be jumping into a new business venture. They just need to rest and recoup and kind of connect back into themselves. So, you know, there's also the view that this is going to be a crisis that's going to continue for some time, and so therefore there's space and there's time for different people to come through at different points as situations unfold. So I think it's a good time to be watching, as you say, and trying out and learning from people. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to jump straight in and launch something either. So, you know, it's allowing everyone can go at their own pace, as long as they feel like they've really connected to what their mission is for themselves and what their gifts are, and delivering those things to other people. And then you survey and learn from what you're seeing online and all the wonderful sharing that's happening as to what your options might be. And you can try and try them out, so that when you do take action, it's from a wise place that aligns to your mission, connects to your gifts, feels like it's the right, although slightly fearful option to adjust. And in that process, having faith that what is the right thing for you at this time is okay. And, you know, that if you stand by your knowledge as a well-being person, that you'll be supported at the right points, as long as you're investing in yourself and how you're going to serve.
Yes. And do you also think that dipping your toes just a little bit, say with friends, and just testing it out that way is a good way to start? Like, just to try and, you know, really simplify things. Like, you don't have to worry about health disclaimers and like privacy issues and all that sort of extra layer of stress that can really overwhelm. If you could just say, test it out, get your Skype or your Zoom or whatever, or your Facebook Live, just with a couple of friends, maybe not Facebook Live, and just see how you feel.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
too.
But, you know, if you're a healer who only ever does in-store, in-person healing, then now's an opportunity to just try and offer, maybe not to friends, because sometimes healing friends and family can be a bit awkward, but, you know, maybe just, you know, try out between your network of other healers, free exchanges. So doing some exchanges with people of a similar skill set to you, or similar experience level, and sharing feedback and stuff like that would be really good. Say if you're an energy healer, but you've not done a lot of distance work. You know, if you are a massage or some kind of touch therapy person, like osteopaths and those kind of people, are there other ways in which you can share your knowledge, share simple skills maybe that people could do for themselves, simple self-massage tips, you know, stuff like that. Like, and you could share that with your friends and your family first, just to try stuff out and not have to stress about what you know, what the safety implications are for your career. And the same with teaching. You know, maybe you've never taught online yoga class before, so, you know, just do it on Skype, it's free, you know, and have a go at teaching your mum, say, and just, you know, see how it fits, see how it feels, you know. Then maybe, you know, see if you can add in, you know, your mum's neighbour or whatever, you know, whoever it is that's kind of reasonably close. Again, you don't have to get those health disclaimers, you don't need to worry about terms and conditions, you don't feel like you have to worry about all of that stuff. Like, you can just do it through a couple of key friends, your best mates, whatever, and just have a go at seeing what it feels like to deliver. And also just attend and try other people's and see what their platforms are like and how they've done it, as to, you know, what do you like? You know, or that person called out names and that felt a bit uncomfortable, or the cues were super generic, or they felt like they were trying to be a celebrity teacher and it was all just about them shining at the front of the video, you know. That you know, like, you know, it depends what works for you and what you enjoy and how you share, and what kind of teachers you follow, right? You know, so just getting those experiences of what it's like to deliver your skills through different platforms and through different mediums.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I guess that you've brought it to the question now of what are your actual values. So what do you value in your own self and in other people, and what is it that you want to bring and share?
Yeah,
and identify that.
Exactly. So, you know, when we come back to kind of how we're going to share and shine with people, I think it's really important. Maybe you've aligned to other studios or you've been working for other people, and sometimes you lose track of what exactly it is that you value and how that helps you connect with other people who are looking to align to those values, and aligning your service to those values. So I think it's really important to narrow it down to, they say 3, but, you know, if you need to start at 5, start at 5. And then try and see what the top 3 are, so that you are really holding your integrity. So, you know, if you're someone who's always done a lot of manual assists in teaching and you really see that's part of your core value, you know, you need to think about how can you now articulate those assists over the internet. So, you know, there's creativity in your verbal cueing that's going to have to be stepped up, right, in order for you to find a new way of assisting. So you're still assisting, but it's taking assisting from a new angle. So thinking about those kind of aspects of your values in what you want to bring, what you want to share, and making sure that you're still feeling like you're consistent with how you deliver that.
Yeah, so that you're still holding your own values up as the highest standard that you work towards, making sure that everything is aligned with our own soul purpose or integrity, or
exactly. And I think sometimes, you know, if you're unfamiliar with a platform, you can sometimes feel like you're losing that. So you need to experiment and practice a lot with people to make sure that you can find that. I've worked with yoga teachers before who have found that working on Zoom, they can't see the breath properly, and they don't feel like they can align to the importance of teaching breath in a practice. And some of that just takes practice at really watching people closely and having a good eye and understanding biomechanics and angles to be able to assess what's going on, because obviously you've only got a fixed angle of a camera, and that's just practice. And so, you know, if you don't feel like you're aligning to those values of how you would normally teach, by say being able to do a 360 walk around of your client, then you need to practice teaching to get comfortable that you can align to those values of how you share and what you're teaching, what you're doing, what you're delivering.
And maybe sort of offering a slightly different service, like for example doing one-on-ones, where maybe you normally do a class situation, but offering say one-on-ones as an attempt to hone those skills and to really focus. So you don't have to focus on the whole group, then you can just focus on one person, and you can ask them, have an interactive session with them, so that you can check in with them. How did you feel with that exercise, etc. So
yeah, and you can also say, I'm really struggling, I can't see this, that's really, you know, I'm finding it really hard. Is there any way you can move? Like, can you get, you know, what kind of angle helps you see people?
Yeah.
So that, you know, depending on what space they've got, you can try and get them to put their computer or their phone or whatever at a certain angle. I mean, it doesn't always work. There's definitely been some strange angles I've seen people at.
But you can always try.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but you know, and you've got to remember that if you're going to do group classes, like, people have to be comfortable with being seen. Like, some people aren't going to put their cameras on, and some people might be trying to be nude, and you've got to, like, you know, so maybe starting with people that you know is a really good place.
Yeah.
So you can manage yourself first and foremost. Like, you need to get to know your skill set now virtually, and find a joy and a pleasure in that process. So, you know, starting to find that way in which you can enjoy and have fun in sharing it in a new way.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good point, is to make sure that we're joyful, and we're able to share our enthusiasm through a new method. So for a lot of us, it's new to be online, but to be able to still connect meaningfully with people and to bring our joy, basically.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy, especially if you're used to working in studio and group scenarios, to think that it's the physical space that is what was being held, and that we need to be in a physical space in order to be able to hold and share that with people, and recognizing that as energy workers, we know that that's not necessarily true. And that, you know, you can create a virtual space that holds that energy and provides someone a place to drop down into and have that depth of experience. But again, it does take some practice for you as a leader to be able to hold that with comfort. I mean, it's like going from teaching studio classes to running retreats. They're all just different spaces, and you just have to learn to get comfortable and assess your skills and how you need to adapt to up level that. But if you don't feel ready for that, then, you know, you need to not do this for the time being and explore some other stuff and go learn and watch other people. And I think it's also important to stop and take time, connect back into your qualities of what you do in teaching. So think about, you know, some of the key things that clients maybe have said to you when you're teaching, and how that helps bring something up for them, and how can you cultivate that now online.
And also, if you're doing small group work, like with your mum, for example, and the neighbour, you can get feedback from them, right, to see what it is that worked, what didn't. Try it with different groups of people, different friends, to get the feedback.
Exactly.
And I guess you can just have the conversation too, with people in a general sense, and ask, what is it why do you come to me as a client, or my classes as a student? And
and then try and find that. I know that one of the things that I found really hard with doing pre-recorded videos is to bring the same playfulness I do when I teach in a live class, because I react to the serious concentrating faces of people in the room, and I just make jokes. And when I don't have someone in front of me to make a joke at, like, you know, I'm like, oh, there's no one to laugh at. Like, and so, you know, like, sometimes, you know, you've got to work out, like, okay, well, then maybe I should be doing live classes, right? So that I can be with people rather than doing pre-recorded, because it makes me really dry, you know. But maybe you're someone who actually, you know, is going to find that suddenly you really get into pre-recorded, and that actually you really like having that time to, like, be your space. And that actually, you know, it's a new skill set that you uncover of yourself, and that can sometimes also help with managing. You know, it's very easy when designing a new business venture. You're like, okay, so I've been teaching X hours a week in a studio, now I'm going to do X hours a week of online classes, say, or, I'm going to do X hours a week of videos a week. And you're like, actually, if you are setting yourself up as a business by yourself, you've got all the admin or the running time, you're going to have to get to know all the technology, you're going to have to deal with all your clients. And so it's not just the amount of hours that you were delivering. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the background. So it can be very easy to overcommit. Just like if you do pre-recorded videos, you could be like, well, I teach 12 hours a week, so I can do 12 videos a week. And it's like, oh, hang on a minute. Every video takes 4 hours to produce.
But I guess if you start small, so for example, if you just started one class a week online and just take it slowly, once you get all those systems in place and you get all your feedback forms or whatever forms you need, all that techo stuff, legal stuff, once it's all bedded down and you're familiar and it's comfortable again, then perhaps then you could expand a bit more, right?
Yeah, and I think of it like starting out community classes. You just hire a hall and you do one class, and you get enough people, and then you hire the hall and you do another class. And you grow slowly and steady, and you build it. And I think what we've got to make sure is that we're not jumping into this trying to be some full service studio each as individuals. But are there other opportunities out there where you can still be a part of a collective or another organization or your old studio in some new venture, so that it's more sustainable for you, say, so you're not managing all those overheads, you're not doing all of that techie stuff, not dealing with legal stuff, overwhelming your brain. But it's good to map out, I think at this time in particular, when people are trying to work out what they want to do, still put a structure in your day and think about the different tasks and the different things you want to research and learn about, different things you'd want to practice, and try and make that your new diary and your new structure. So it starts to become like, oh, is this what running a business is like at home? So like you start to create that virtual studio by giving yourself a structure and a diary. And, maybe that virtual class becomes a plop in there, or, this is my half a day that I'm going to spend on recording that video for the week. And then I'm going to do this amount of time doing social media. That's what I really love to do, to share my videos. So you want to take that time to really give yourself that structure still, to ensure that you take care of your energy and you're using your time wisely.
And also, what about the transition back to normal life, like post-isolation period? If we've started setting up a whole online thing, we've got to also be mindful, don't you think, of how we then go back to what we were doing before, if that suits still.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess
the clients start going back to their normal lives as well, whether our model is actually working for them as well.
Well, and that I guess comes back to uncertainty, right? Like we all know that the only consistency in the world is change, and we definitely are in a world that's experiencing a huge amount of rapid change currently. And I would hope, especially as wellness people, that we have done some investigation of ourselves and how we cope with change, and managing to find our sense of stillness. And there's a lot of craziness around us. And allowing the business and just being open to the fact that maybe this is a 3-month endeavor. So maybe don't sign up to 1-year-long subscriptions, just in case. That might be the kind of stuff that helps you in reducing some of those potential risks and overheads. And just explore what happens with your client base. Be open to it, and maybe your mood stops and you're like, I'm done with it. That was an experience. I had my little adventure. Like you were saying earlier on, I've had my adventure. I've tried it out, and now everyone's gone back to the office. No one's interested in online anymore. Everyone wants to now we're allowed to touch each other again. We can't wait to all be doing hugging circles.
Which could quite likely happen.
Any entrepreneur would tell you everything needs to be an adventure. You just need to take those lessons and move on to the next adventure, and what lessons you're going to learn from that, and not be fixed about what this is and what that's going to create as a future. Because I feel like if there's one lesson we should all be learning currently with the world of uncertainty, is that we definitely need to go with the flow.
And not get too attached to me being this or that, or Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly. So I think your idea of seeing opportunities, learning and experiencing is a really great way to take it. And if that feels like it's still too overwhelming and you're not in that place, then, you know, don't take that time to do that deep reflective work and look at values, look at what you enjoy, maybe experiment, try some stuff out, you know, reevaluate your mission and how you're living your life. And maybe you might find that your values start to shift through this process, and that you start to discover new skills, and that changes what you feel like now in a month's time, and there's no rush in jumping into it.
Yes, there's no rush. That's a good lesson.
So, thanks so much, Adele, for your questions, and for running through, and also for your amazing insights and knowledge and wisdom that you've shared, and I really appreciate it.